Welcome to the Tea with Martha, where we spill the tea on the untold truths and real struggles of entrepreneurship. I'm Martha Pachow, a fellow business owner who's learned the ins and outs of business the hard way. Get ready for unfiltered discussions on the highs, lows, and messy realities of entrepreneurship. It's time to spill the tea and vent it out with us.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tea with Martha. And today I am so excited to introduce to you guys my beautiful and wonderful friend, Melissa Edmiston. And she is such a treat, you guys, that I am so excited to dive in. Melissa is a wonderful mother, of course, wife, and has so many other giftings that we are going to dive into today. And so buckle up because it's going to be a fun ride. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Martha. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited to just share with your audience and just get to chat with you. I always love talking to you. So this is going to be fun.
So, Melissa and I met at Brooke Thomas's Elite Mastermind, I want to say last January. And Melissa and Marissa, her BFF, were the first people that I met at the coffee shop. I didn't know anyone, and I remember just running into you guys. I had just worked out, no face on, and we were all grabbing a cup of coffee and just feeling like, oh my gosh, these ladies were so sweet and wonderful and welcoming. It's going to be okay. Like I can walk into this big room and it's going to be fine, if everyone is like Melissa and Marissa. And sure enough, it was just a God moment. So, yeah, Melissa, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So thank you for that story. I had completely forgotten about that because now I feel like I know you so well. I just remembered, or you reminded me that first time we met was so sweet. We just like couldn't stop talking in the coffee shop. It was so great. And yeah, it's been so great to get to know you and be in community with you. So I first am a wife to an amazing husband. We've been married, it'll be 15 years this year. I have three small boys, 11, 9, and soon to be 7. So our house is usually loud and wild and fun. And we live on the coast of North Carolina. So we live in Wilmington, get to live near the water and enjoy just coastal living, beach, river, ocean, boating, all the things. So it's kind of what you'll find us
Must be
doing.
tough.
It is. It's a tough life. I always say that I'm like, I'm staring at the intercoastal waterway right now. I have a really tough life. It's very inspiring to be here, though. Never thought I would live here. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Am 100% Hispanic. My father is Colombian. My mom is Cuban. So I grew up very much in Hispanic culture. And when Jonathan was like, we're moving, not we're moving, he said, what about North Carolina? I'm like, I will never live in North Carolina. Never say never. I feel like everything I've said never to, God's like, yeah, actually, that's what you're going to do. So here we are. And now I love living here. And I always want people to come visit because it is a gem that not many people know about. Also, we have run a real estate firm for the last 7 years. My husband and I have been in real estate for a long time. Him over 20 years, me about the same. I've kind of gone in and out. He's been pretty much all in. And we have about 100 agents throughout the state of North Carolina that we have the pleasure of leading and serving. And in the last year or so, God has kind of brought a lot of things in our life full circle. And now we also run an investment fund where we have the huge um, privilege and honor of being able to multiply wealth for other people, which is like, to me, I just love money and I love generosity. So I love being able to not just do for our family, but it's even more fun when you get to do it for other people. So that's a little bit about what we do and who we are.
Love that. Isn't it wonderful how we can say never or I'm not going to do that and somehow, God just weaves a way to get us to move out of that comfort zone, and I know because I know you and I know your stories, just sitting kind of on the sideline in such a short period of time. It's so wonderful to see when we don't do what we want to do. We do what we're called to do and how God just makes it so much better. And so with that, can you tell us a little bit about, that journey of building a business, but also the hardship and the tough days, right? I mean, now when you talk about wealth and you talk about giving and giving in a big way, I'm sure there was a time where that wasn't even a possibility. It probably didn't even cross your mind. And so I think there's such power in finding success, building wealth, and then right now you guys are in a position where you're helping others build wealth, which is just the next level. But can you take us back to the early days where it wasn't what it is now?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I always say, like, I have a hard time sharing about our successes and where we are now without sharing how hard it was to get here, how hard it is, even where we are now and where we're going. Like, I just feel like that's the journey that not enough people talk about, because it is truly like the only way, right? Because it's how God prepares us, it's how God prunes us. And I remember when I first married Jonathan, this is kind of a little bit of, about the story I'm going to share, but when I first met him, he had a very large real estate portfolio, was doing very well. Prior to us meeting, and still a little bit, but I didn't know this. I was just meeting him. And I remember us talking about, dreams and things we wanted to do, things we wanted to accomplish. And in our minds as, late 20s, and we're just like, oh yeah, it's gonna be amazing. And we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And God has this desire for her. And it was all just gonna be easy. And then it was really hard. The real estate market crashed in '08, and my husband lost his entire portfolio, went from making at the time multiple six figures to nothing, and losing all of his income, all of his real estate property. I was in the marketing world at the time. I was working for an advertising agency that was taking a hit. And so all of a sudden we find ourselves like, okay, wait a second. When we got married, we're like, we have all these dreams, we have this vision God is giving us, we have a heart for entrepreneurship, we have a heart for generosity, like it's all in us, but nothing around us looked like that. Instead, we were dwindling our savings pretty quickly. Jonathan was at the point where he has a master's, he has a degree in ministry and a master's in business administration, had a ton of work experience. He's been working since he was 12, but he couldn't get hired. Like, he was like, okay, I won't be an entrepreneur right now. I just need to provide for my family, for my wife. Nobody would hire him. I will never forget, Martha. He was applying to like hundreds and hundreds of jobs, and nobody would hire him because he was overqualified. And so here we are, living in a apartment in Coral Gables in Miami, like on the way towards this life, but then everything, we just like hit a wall and it was in the opposite direction. And so we lost, we were at a point well, first we were homeless. So now we had no place to live, because we could no longer afford and had no money for rent. Now, hindsight, yes, there are things we would have done differently. Yes, we were immature. I'm not blaming any circumstance other than one, we made poor decisions. And two, God used them all to put us exactly where we are today. Nothing in the kingdom of God is lost. So I don't regret. I wouldn't change. I would give advice to people going through it so they don't have to go through it as hard as we did. But I know that God used that for us, for our
Mhm.
story. And then homeless, looking out the window every day of if our cars were going to be repossessed. I mean, very opposite of the life that we were dreaming of. But God is so faithful. We stayed faithful. We never quit on our dreams. We just knew that we were on a journey that looked very, very different. And so where we are today looks nothing like what we've gone through, but we've gone through trials, we've gone through losses, we've gone through what a lot of people would consider failures, in the sense that we've attempted a lot of things, tried a lot of things, started a lot of things. Some of them did not work at all. Some of them were what taught us what we know now in order to have what we have and what we're doing
Mhm.
today. So it's all part of the journey, and it's all the process that I know God has used for exactly where we are and what we're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the beauty of it all, right? We have to sometimes have to go through that, even though we just didn't. But I love that story, how you said nothing is lost in the kingdom, right? Even when we make mistakes. Because guess what? I mean, I think we all have and will continue to do because that's just part of being human. And but the beauty of it is as he restores things and he can use everything. Like it
This is
doesn't
everything.
matter.
Yeah, it's interesting because in that season, again, my husband was, real estate, right? But in that season, the Lord took him on a journey to learn trading, to learn the stock market, to learn the depths of finances, the depths of the economy and politics, and really took him on a journey of like, I don't, okay, Lord, I'm learning how to trade, I'm learning all these things that were kind of like not the thing he was going towards, but because that, wasn't an option at the moment, it was his like plan B and God really taught him and he had, you know, grace and favor and he was good at it. Well, full circle 15 years later, and we're like, wow, it seemed like God just took us on all these different paths. Well, now our investment fund is literally the three asset classes: real estate, the stock market, and cryptocurrency. Which if the market had not crashed, if Jonathan would not have lost his portfolio, who knows if he would have ever even learned all of that stuff. And
Mhm.
now look, God used it for us to have an investment fund to bless other people. Like that is literally like the kingdom. That's how it works. He will use everything for the greater good, and he takes things that the world sees as losses or failures, and he's like, no, wait, I need this because you're going to use it. I'm going to use it for you later on.
Yes. Yes, that's so good. And so tell us a little bit about that, when you've gone through that process and as you felt the tide was turning, um, what did it look like to start from zero again? What were the maybe some of the biggest learning lessons in that aside from okay, you're past survival now, okay, you just like just barely trying to get that momentum to keep building because it takes time. You said you guys have been doing it or you moved 7 years. So I'm not sure if the move was related to that or not, but just tell us a little bit, take us through that
Yeah.
building from the ground up.
Yeah, and I would say, the building from the ground up can happen in seasons and in waves, and
Mm,
it can, I hate to ever feel like we've arrived like that. It's just not a thing. I
mhm,
think it's meant to be a thing for the believer and for somebody who's actually walking in obedience with the Lord and allowing ourselves to be vessels for Him. It's like he could tell you tomorrow to just burn it all down and go do something else. And it's like, but what do you mean? This was my thing. Like maybe, maybe not. And so I think that, we by no means have arrived. We are, we just started our fund 6 months ago, but still we're always learning, we're always growing, there's always more. And I would say we're kind of in our like this is like one of the greatest seasons we've ever walked into as far as like having a lot of clarity where everything just kind of came together, like convergence happened. And it's like, oh, this was the thing all these years. But
mhm,
along the way, um, we've taken a lot of risk and we've
mhm,
jumped and stepped out in faith many, many times and done things that most people would not do, and also told us we were crazy. And
mhm,
again, going back, there's some things we shouldn't have done, but all the things we did in risk and obedience. For example, when we moved to North Carolina, we were Jonathan was working for. He did finally get a job, but he was working for a real estate company, and making a decent salary, working from home. And the Lord is like, "Don't forget, you're an entrepreneur." And it's like, okay, but this feels really safe right now. Making a steady income for the first time in a while. Everything's good. We're about to have another baby. We just have bought this beautiful big home. And God called us to lay it all down, quit the job, the full-time benefits, the convenience, the security, and go out and start our own real estate firm. And it was like, it made no sense. Everyone thought we were crazy. Like, what are you doing? You have a family, you have bills, you have things. And so we did it. We started with 0 agents, just me and my husband. So 2 agents. And we grew that firm to 5 offices and 125 agents. And it's like, that would have never happened if we would have waited or stayed secure or safe. And I know you're
Mhm.
nodding your head because you can relate to this thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
feeling this level of obedience where it's like, that doesn't make sense to most people. It's probably the right thing because the
Right.
thing that makes sense to most people is not the thing that
True.
will take you to that next level. And it's not just about like growth for like more money or a bigger business. It's like, what can God use you for? Who can he bless through you? Somebody has to be the one to pay the price. He already paid the price so that now we can trust him in obedience and just follow him. And for us, it meant leaving everything many times, starting a real estate firm, growing that. And then all of a sudden, a year ago in January, him saying, "Hey, your funds are doing really well. Your investments are growing." All these people were coming to us and being like, "Can you invest for us? Can you take our money? Can you grow it like you're growing yours?" And we're like, "No, we don't do that." And long story short, God said, "I want you to help other people do what you're doing with your own money. And I can trust you, and I've prepared you for this." And Jonathan and I, I'll never forget, we fasted, we prayed, we sought a lot of counsel, a lot of prayer. We're sitting on the floor in our bedroom just praying. And I felt the Lord just give me a vision and just drop it in my spirit. And he's like basically like green light, this is what you're doing. And we were both crying and we said, "Okay, Lord, yes, we'll do it." And in a few months we have over $1 million under management, multiple investors. And it's like everything God showed us in that vision of running this fund is happening and then some. And so, but again, it took risk. It took starting something new. It took doing scary things. It took going from being homeless to moving multiple times, leaving people, leaving friends, leaving family, moving to different places, starting new things. It was always like, it's always been a risk, um, uh, jump or a leap of faith in obedience.
That's so hard, every change is one of the hardest things that us as humans, uh, we resist. We don't, our psychology tells us that people would rather stay in something that is miserable or bad because they don't want change. We resist the change. And so when you think about change, you just mentioned a lot of changes. Right? I mean, like, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, that is really hard. Every time you move, even just a house, I mean, y that's a big change, and it's an adjustment, and you're, like, now even the route that you used to take in the grocery store, and,
Oh yeah.
just, like, all the little things. Now, I can't imagine thinking of that and then moving cities, moving jobs, moving careers, building businesses, all the things, all while building, raising a family, building a life, a personal life, and all of that. Well, my hat's off to you because I commend you. That is really hard to do. And do it, with a smile and grace and not knowing what's on the other side. Now you can talk about it, right? But at the time when you were making these moves, you didn't really know. There's no guarantee, right? It's just the faith. That's where we activate our faith and we say, okay, well, this is what feel in my spirit. I have confirmation and I'm gonna do the thing. Despite how my mind and my logic is there's no logic sometimes to this. And that is, I think that's where the power lies, is having faith, activating your faith and knowing and trusting that it's going to work out, not because we work it out, but because we're taking steps. I think massive action is what brings results. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. But God honors that action, He's not waiting for us to just sit in a corner and say, okay, well, I'll wait for you, Lord, or I'll wait for your sign. I need to know, I need all the signs and assurance, So I just love this story because I know that it's not easy and I know that God's blessing it. Um, Through this process though, what would you say are some of the things that you've grown the most out of? Like what has been maybe one thing or two things or maybe more that has been your biggest growth, kind of propelled you to grow, in a massive way, but it was equally maybe painful?
Yeah. I would say it's really laying down my my idea. It's there's a tension because you have this like dreams and desires and things that God has put inside of you that you just know that you know that you know that you're called to do or that you want to do or that you're passionate about. And I think where I've made the mistake and sometimes still do, I'm always learning, is that I have this like self self-created idea and picture of what it's supposed to look like
Mm.
exactly, right? And then I'm like, "Oh, I get it. This is the thing. This is why I moved here. These are the people. This is the church. This is what we're supposed to be doing." And then like, I'm kind of like in my own little happy world. I followed God. I'm so obedient. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, remember, I'm over here. This is what I actually need you to do, or now I need you to do this change again, or move here." And it's like, but what I've had to surrender and let go of. And I even just had another lesson on that very recently, is surrender my will and my pictures of what it's supposed to look like and just fully and completely trust him. And that is a decision I have to intentionally make every single day. Lord, your will, not mine. What you want it to look like, not what I want it to look like. How you want it to happen, not how I want it to happen. I know you've given me the desire to generate wealth, to create wealth, to multiply wealth for other people. How that happens and what it looks like, only And so instead of creating this like this is the way, and then I get so set in it that when he switches it can feel like you got the rug pulled out from under you. So I would say that has been like a huge game changer, is just to just lay it all down every day: the how, the when, the what, the who, and just really listen and lean into his voice, which comes to the second thing, or this is probably the first thing, the most important thing. And I know we've had a lot of conversations with this and about this in our community, in the mastermind that we're a part of. But just really sitting with him on a daily basis and listening to his voice and asking him questions and having an intimate relationship with Jesus, where you are just sharing your heart pretty like raw and real and open and honest. And then reading the Bible. And I think my surrender to him and my walk with him and being at his feet, has really been what has changed everything. My confidence, my clarity, my peace, my love, my joy, all of it comes from my time with him. And then lastly, probably just really surrendering and being in unity with my husband. That was a huge thing because we went from kind of being like, we're together, but we're kind of doing different things and we're a little bit siloed, but we didn't really realize it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're going to do this like together. And you're going to be together all the time. And you're going to work together and you're going to create together. And just really learning how to actually operate as one, to become one, but where we're still two different people with two different sets of gifts. I like to say like God is the head and we're each a different body part. That is how we're designed. And so understanding that role even within our marriage, so that it could, God can use our marriage to do the things that we're doing. Because I think a lot of us are not, at least we weren't operating in the level of unity that God had for us. Um, and so that was a huge game changer for us. And we're still growing in that. I mean, every day.
That's a journey for sure. Well, I have loved this conversation, Melissa. I am so just proud of you because I think sometimes as entrepreneurs and builders and movers and shakers, uh, it's easy to just move on to the next thing, right? And so I just want to honor you for the work that you guys are doing, for picking back up. And I know you've had hardship in the middle of all of that, and despite all of that, um, you have picked back up over and over, and your beautiful smile always, and you're such a giver, and you're such a cheerleader of others, that I have no doubt in my mind that God is just continuing to prepare you for the next big thing as you trust and you surrender. Surrender was my word last year, so, and it was definitely um it was definitely the theme for my year. I can relate to that for sure. And it's not easy. Again, as builders and doers, the hardest thing is to surrender our idea of what needs to be, the what it should look like, what it's gonna look like, what I'm gonna make happen, because that is part of our secret sauce, right? Is being having that audacity, but we have to equally be willing to surrender. And it's very counterintuitive. Like, you can't fit the two in a box, but yet you have to. Like, that's where, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to do the work, and also surrender to the unknown of God. You do the rest, and you'll probably do it better. And it might hurt a little bit in the meantime. But,
One of the
it's
things we're walking through right now, and I think it's kind of cool to share this on a podcast because I'd love for your viewers to like follow along, because I don't even know what God's going to do. And it's cool. Like, I hope to share an update with you. But when 3 years ago, we were living about 3 hours from here, and we had, 5.5 acres, huge home, guest house. We had our perfect like little world. We had a village of friends. Um, the homeschool community, jujitsu, all the things. Like, it seemed like a perfect little life, right? And it was. We loved it. And we bought a beach house as a second home, so we thought. And we bought a townhouse, and we were gonna just go back and forth. And then about a month after being here, God said, uh, basically told us like, sell everything and move there full time. And then of course I'm like, why? What do you mean? And there was like silence. We knew 100% we were supposed to do it, sell our house, leave our friends, leave our people, leave everything, and move here. But we didn't understand why. And so that was 3 years ago. And I remember when we moved into the townhouse, I'm like, okay, this is just temporary, right? Like 6 months. Like, there's no way I could live in a townhouse with, we were talking about like first world problems, or, you know what I mean? Like, I can't live in a townhouse half or less than half the size of where we used to live. And there's no yard and there's no land. We're on the intercoastal and we have a boat, granted. But in my finite mind, I'm like, Lord, just 6 months, right? We've been here almost 3 years, Martha. 3 years. And every time we go to buy another house or move, God literally just like shuts it down and is like, not yet, wait. And we're like, so that has been a journey, 3 years of, leaving friends, leaving people, our kids not being very happy with us about it. And I just want to share that with your listeners, to be like, obedience is hard sometimes, but I will say every time God has asked us to do something, it's never been like where we're like, we still can't, we're never like mad at him, because it always unfolds to such beautiful things. And so here we are, again, almost 3 years later, still living in the townhouse, not knowing where we're going to move next. But since that move, our life has completely transformed as well. We now have a hedge fund. Our kids went to school again, which was very needed for our marriage. Like, so many things have come from that move already. Still sad, still hard to leave people, but it's just how it goes. And I just want to encourage
Mhm.
like anybody listening to like really lean into that obedience, because you just never know what's on the other side of it, even if it makes no sense and is painful and hard. So I can't wait to update you on our next
Yes.
and when that happens.
So powerful. I love that. I love that. And again, yeah, I feel like there's so much more to unpack.
I know. I left you with like a cliffhanger, like,
Yeah.
until next time.
We're
Gonna have to
have
do
to
it
do another
soon.
one. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we're gonna do an update. We're gonna do an update, And because I know there's more to the story, but I think that just, in closing for today, understanding that when people want to level up or what you have these dreams of this just great life and whatever that is for everyone, and we all have a different calling and gifting. um it's in the pressing is where we're going to get that thing that we long for. And that's the thing that I think we underestimate the most, is we think it's going to be an easy climb, but it's almost like, if you haven't had the pressing, just wait. And until you have the pressing, that's when you're gonna go level up, girlfriend,
It's so
And
true.
I don't mean that it can look different for everybody. It doesn't have to be this devastating thing. But I think in our faith, in our families, in our businesses, in our finances, in our health, like that's where faith is activated, and that's where the rubber meets the road. And we really have to put our money where our mouth, or our money where our
Yeah.
mouth is, and just
Your faith
it,
is actually shown and demonstrated in trials. It's easy to be like, "I
absolutely.
trust you, Lord, I trust you," when everything's good, but then when it's not, it's like, and
Mm,
giving him the glory, like glory in our suffering, right? Like, thank you, Jesus. Like, no matter what is happening, that is huge. I love that you said that because it's so true. The pressing is literally, and I think that's where us believers are sometimes like, "Oh no, what's happening? The devil's attacking me." Like,
yes.
maybe, but also maybe God is just trying to prune you and grow you.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's all, so if you can just kind of, I know it's hard, but count it all joy, keep our eyes
Yes.
fixed on him, ask him, Lord, what can I learn here? What are you doing? One of the prayers I pray every day is like, search my heart, oh God, and uproot any lie that's in there that's not true and that's not from you. And guess what?
Mm,
If it does that, it feels like you're being crushed.
yes. Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your heart and your wisdom with us today, Melissa. If Where can our listeners find you if they'd like to reach out and learn more about you?
Yeah, I would say right now the easiest is just follow me on Instagram. It's literally my name with a period in between. So Melissa.Edmiston, Edmiston. And that's probably the best for now.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to tag and link everything in this episode, and stay tuned for the second one, because we are going to link arms and believe for that, whether it's the dream house or the
Yeah.
dream view or the whatever that is, right? We were talking before the show about first world problems, and it's also okay to dream big, and God wants to lavish us with
Yeah.
blessings and things that we can enjoy, and we can host and bless other people as well. And it's okay to want a wonderful life.
Right.
So I'm excited for you, and all the things that you guys are going to continue to build. And I love the name Jonathan. That's my brother's name. So every time I hear Jonathan, I'm like, oh, I hear my mom yelling,
Yes, I have a job.
Jonathan.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you for joining me on another episode. If you enjoyed today's tea, make sure to follow, rate, and leave a review. Stay connected with us on social media at The Tea with Martha for updates and behind the scenes moments. Remember, every woman's story is a sip of inspiration, and together we're brewing success. This is Martha signing off. Cheers!